All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon also to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us wherever you're watching from. So much going on over the course of this week. And as you know, we have a shore leaf that's happening currently this weekend. So, be on the lookout for that as there will be some content that will be shared with you guys of the goings on there. But also next week, as you will know, unless you're living under a rock, that we also have San Diego Comic Con returning to us in the live format. So I will be there, providing coverage, and we'll actually have some cool chats happening, just prior to the show, on top of those that are happening during the show. So with that out of the way, as you saw, with the title there, we have a terrific guest, for you guys. They are, a talented writer as well as a actor, and they currently, as you saw, and I'll put it up here. They are the writer of Ancient Explorers, the Lost City of Peru. It is my pleasure to welcome on Omar Mora. Let me bring him on.
Hi, Brandon.
Omar, how you doing?
How you doing? Good, good, good. Thank you for having me in your show.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I know it's been a 2.5 years, 3 years. I guess we could say 2.5 to 3 years of things being shut off for the most part, in a lot of ways. But I feel like is provided some instances of opportunity where it allowed a lot of people to, really prioritize and slow down, so to speak, and really assess, those things that they are really passionate about and keen to do, and that brings to mind of what you have here. So can you talk a bit about your journey, because that's a pretty fascinating one, from being in the world of medicine to getting over to acting.
So basically, I grew up in Puerto Rico. Always loved the entertainment business. Coming from a small town called Arecibo, love the town, beautiful. But acting or being a writer back then, you don't have that. You have the dream, but you don't have, I think, the infrastructure to make it happen. At least when I grew up. So I studied pre med, went to college in Puerto Rico. Then I ended going to Guadalajara, Mexico for medicine, and then was in New York where I did my residency. And that's when everything changes. When I had the September 11 happened, I was down there in New York City in downtown when everything happened, and that's what changed my life. And I decided to start living the life I wanted to live and to follow my dreams. And acting and writing was on the top of the list. So that's when I planned to start taking acting classes in New York. Once I finished that, I moved to LA, started taking a lot of workshops of writing, and I started my career as a writer in 2012, 13, when I started writing script films, now comic books, and hopefully a TV series very soon.
All right, outstanding, outstanding. And to speak on that, further, as you were talking about, with how with what happened with writing and how that really blossomed. Can you talk a bit about how that has segued into what we're talking about today? With the current story that you have now, because I understand that many of the graphic novels, they have started first, initially as what you had perceived, as something that would be on the big screen, that was a screenplay, and they have evolved to that. So can you talk a bit about that, and perhaps if it still may come to pass as an adaptation? So
I mean, that I think that's the whole goal of many of us as a writer and storyteller. Right now, there's so much going going on. There's a lot of mediums, including comic book, podcast, films, TV series that we can tell our stories, and a lot of producers and studios and streamers are looking everywhere to get content. So, for example, Ancient Explorers is one of my stories that I always wanted to make it as a graphic novel comic book. In this case, it's a hybrid of a novel and comic book because of the finances, because of the COVID, and I can explain a little bit more. But having the story out there now in San Diego Comic Con is coming on July 20th. Uh, as a comic book slash graphic slash novel, for me it's a plus to have that the story out there for me to get it into, hopefully, into a next stage as an adaptation of a TV series. So hopefully, like, people, when read it, like it, resonate with it, and it keeps grows from there. So I mean, that's kind of the main goal of one of the goals.
All right, outstanding. And can you speak further to, uh, just the idea, just as you said, of there being, when we're talking about graphic novels versus films, the medium is quite different in terms of how you are approaching it and how you are going about telling that story. If you're acting, as you well know, a lot of those things can be told so much just through looks and through gestures, versus something that really has to be spelled out if it's something that's written, on the page, or something that really has to be expressed differently in terms of action if it's drawn. So can you talk a bit about that in trying to adjust the story that you're trying to tell based on the medium that you're working with?
Definitely. I mean, the script of a film, a screenplay, is totally different as a script of a comic book. So I'm a screenplay writer. So for me to write a story as a film script is much easier than when I started with comic books. So when I started to write as a comic book, I needed to have workshops, online education on how to write the script adapted for the medium of comic books. It's a lot of narration, a lot of description of how you want the panels. You need to know about like where the panels are going to be, the colors, the tone, so the artist can get that information and make it possible. I mean, and have the visualization of what you want as a writer to put it on the page. So for me, the most important was the education on how to write a comic book script. That most of it came from a Star Wars Celebration convention that I took a full course. It took 4 days back in 2016, 17, I believe. That was the main workshops that I had for comic books writer. And then I took online courses that they're everywhere that you can know how to script a comic book script.
All right, excellent, excellent. And can you talk, a little further about, the story itself of you're really digging into, story that we have here.
Yeah. So basically, Ancient Explorers is about two best friends that they grew up together with grandpa tells stories about hidden treasures, maps, adventures. As they grew up, they forgot about these stories, but they had two artifacts that the grandpa was give it to them, to Mark and Louis are the main characters. That grandpa gave it to them before he died, and it was a compass and a treasure map. So one day they went to this bar. They had they had their own business. They went bankrupt. They lost everything. So they go to this bar to drink away their frustrations. They met these two beautiful girls, archaeologists, that got interested in the compass because it had some ancient symbols. And Mark and Louis, they thought they were like just grandpa's toys, nothing important. But it happened that the compass was real for the 14th centuries with some ancient symbols. They decided to show them the map, and the map also said the archaeologists said, this is a true map, and I think the symbols represent the lost city of Paititi. So when they were studying the map to see if they were real or not, something put their life in danger, a danger that drives them to do what they always wanted to do in life. Is ancient of the explorers have those dreams when they were kids, and that's what they pushed them. These four friends, Mark, Louis, Jennifer, and Sandy, to go into this magical adventure to discover the lost city of Paititi.
All right, excellent. And in speaking to that story, that swashbuckling, I guess you can say, story, adventure story. Um, can you also speak to what went into making sure that the story that you were telling, obviously, there are components of it that you are bringing, in to draw in the reader. But I wanted to know, in terms of making it as authentic as possible, in terms of how it would actually be if someone was going on such a journey. What went into that?
So basically, I mean, under the fantasy and adventure of discovering the city of Paititi, this is mostly about discovering yourself, discover who you are, and that transition of losing something, forgetting how you felt when you were a kid about those dreams, to make it reality, and how bad situations in life put you in a position that you can grow as a person, and be the higher self of yourself, if that makes sense. That
Yes.
sometimes we don't know how capable we are to do extraordinary things, and sometimes bad situation or situations in life put us on that place that we need to get to that point, and we go back, and we say like, wow, I was able to accomplish that, and that the way you kind of grow as a human being in this world. So this journey about these four friends is about mostly about that, to discovering who they are and what they're capable of.
All right, outstanding, outstanding. Now, you were teasing it, a little before, of things that are on the horizon, things that are on the way. Are you able to speak to what those are, or are you still holding that a little close, close to your vest, versus sharing what that may be?
Yeah, no, my first comic book series called The Unearthians. Uh,
Yes.
we are developing the TV, the comic book maxi series into a TV series, live action, and I'm excited
Nice.
about that because we're actively pitching to big streamers and big studios, and I got an IP, intellectual property agent, that believe in the story, love the story, and he's the one pushing the story out there. So I'm excited about that. We're putting some people together for the team, and we are just in full development of it. And I mean, if I mean, it's a lot of pieces needs to move to make it happen at the end. But if you see something from the comic book that you create into a live action, I mean, come on, that's the dream.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking further on that, and I'll close with this, because I find it awesome, is being able to put together a production company of your own, and the freedom that comes with that, creatively, because so often I feel like a lot of that gets compromised and falls through the cracks, as more parties, as I'm sure you're aware, more parties start to come in into a story. So uh in speaking to that, can you talk to having a production company of your own, and how you find that fine balance of still being able to tell your stories, having um uh other parties come in. I mean, obviously, you have ensembles that that you have in bring these characters to life, and as actors, as also you bring your own energy, to those roles, even if they are adapted from elsewhere. So, can you speak to that, and trying to find that balance of ensuring that you are telling the story that you want to tell, but still providing the license for other parties that are getting in there to collaborate with you to tell those stories.
Definitely. I mean, one of the most important thing is like, even if you think this is your precious thing, it's not yours, because if it's only yours by yourself, you can do it. You can do it. You need a lot of people around you. In my first two films, 30 Days with My Brothers and Inside the Circle, I need to collaborate with the director, with the DP. So the actors bring their own ideas, and I'm always open to it, because sometimes I feel like their own ideas can make the story even better. I mean, if it doesn't make it better, then you don't take it. You don't want to compromise your artistic vision, but at the same time, you need to be flexible enough to make it better. It's exactly the same when you're doing comic books. You write the script, and it happens with me with the Unertians. The artist, Mauricio Alvarez, very talented artist from Mexico with tons of experience, much more than me. He suggested so many things when he was doing the panels that I was like, blows my mind. I was like, of course. And that's how you learn. You need to work with other people in order to bring your vision or something better than your vision out there, and you need to be open to it. I think it will be interesting as I grow as a producer, because right now one of my script, film script, Looking for God, working with a bigger production company to make it happen, financing and packaging the film, and they have their own uh, vision for it too. So it's been interesting because now you're being working with financiers and producer, not too much about the art of it. So it's interesting how you need to navigate and be open to it. So so far so good. I don't know if one day somebody come, I don't want this and that, and one story from horror ended being comedy. I think that would be a disaster. But so far I've been able to manage, and I'm always open for ideas of, especially from other artists.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. So no, I was going to say I find it very fascinating in terms of in a role as a producer of just as you were saying how because of the approach that someone else is coming into a given project with, that they're going to bring their own suggestions as to what can be done in order to improve upon the story. As you said, sometimes it's better and sometimes other times it's more channeled through the perspective that they're coming from. So it's always a fine balance, and it's an interesting balance. I'm fascinated by that balance. So
And the thing is, you need to be careful, especially working with actors or artists, and you have the producer hat, uh, not to how you shut down their artistic
yeah,
part
of
of it, because then
course, yeah.
they don't flow. And actors, we are sensitive sometimes, so you need to find that balance on how to say things and how to approach things if you don't agree with certain decisions.
Choices, yeah, sure. Well, Omar, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for hopping on and spending some time with us. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram at Mora himself, my website, morasproductions.com. I'm on Facebook, Twitter. And if you guys happen to go to San Diego Comic Con this coming weekend, I'm going to be on the small press area at table M as Mother '05. So you can stop by, get a previous special printed copy of Ancient Explorers. And I'll have a bunch of books for the Unearthians to sell too. So you can stop by and say hi.
All right. Well, there you guys have it. Again, I want to thank Omar Mora for coming on. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right.